Hi guys, how are you? I hope you are all fine. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our channel. In my classroom for many years, I posted a list of the golden rule, as stated in many different religions. In essence, it tells us to treat others as we wish to be treated. I had found it in an old book in a DC public library, and I made it a part of my social studies classes in inner city public schools. When I became a secular teacher in an Islamic school in Florida, I asked permission to post the golden rule, as stated in many religions. I also sent a copy home with students. No one ever objected to students being taught the golden rule in my social studies classes. One year at an inner city school in Florida, I was having difficulty with a group of students. I remembered the golden rule and made a conscious effort to apply it with all of my students. The problems quickly disappeared. Teachers need to be an example of what they teach, and they need to treat students the way they want to be treated. The golden rule is a good rule for all of us. In my 4th grade class in DC one year, we had a holiday learning center with an Advent wreath celebrating Christmas, a Hanukkah menorah, and a kinara used for Kwanzaa, an African-American holiday celebrating African heritage. One of the students liked the colorful brass menorah a little too well, and it disappeared. The other students missed the Hanukkah menorah and disclosed who had taken it. I sent the student to the vice principal's office, and it was returned. I asked her how she had persuaded the student to return the menorah. She laughed and confided that she had told him that it was a religious object, and that God would punish him if he didn't return it. I was a little taken aback by her methods, but I was not happy to have the menorah returned. After a trip to Florida, I set up a learning center in my DC classroom. The display included a bottle of water from the Fountain of Youth in St. Augustine. One day I discovered that the bottle had been opened and some of the water was gone. I would love to have seen the look on the student's face after tasting the sulfur water. One day in Florida, I took my 6th grade students on a virtual shopping trip to the drugstore as part of math class. Big mistake, one of the students lifted a pack of batteries. When we returned to the school, the principal informed me that she had gotten a call from the drugstore. A very well-behaved and hard-working student from my 9th grade African studies class once took my grade book. Luckily, he returned it. I never did find out what he had intended to do with the grade book. I believe he viewed taking the grade book as a harmless prank. On a school field trip to an Indian reservation, there was a tub of cold drinks on ice being sold on the honor system. Concerned when I saw that, I appointed a student to collect the money. I think you can guess the rest of the story. I had put the fox in charge of the henhouse. The principal got call that $100 worth of drinks had been consumed and not paid for. In a 6th grade class, the most popular book in our classroom, a library, was a field guide to Florida animals. One day it disappeared. The Only book ever stolen from the classroom. Library in any of my classes. My first teaching assignment was a first grade class in inner city DC. At our scheduled time, we lined our classes up in the hallway to go to the restroom. After we had waited for a short while, little girl grabbed my wrist to look at my watch. I will never forget the bewildered look on her face. "There are no numbers," she said in amazement. Another time we were waiting in the hall, and a little girl asked me, "Are you getting blonde?" No, I was getting gray. In a fourth grade class in that same school, students would sometimes slip up and call me "mom." Then they would look at me to see if that had upset me. No, that was an honor. The most heartwarming thing I remember happening in DC was when my entire fourth grade class rushed up to me and gave me a group hug. My son often reminds me of a very hard-working and helpful student who had been in my fourth grade class in DC. He was one of several students who used to stay after school to wash the boards and help me clean the fish tank and the guinea pig cage. When I left for Florida because my husband had a new job there, I gave the fish tank to my student. 8 years later, he tracked me down in Florida to invite me to his high school graduation. "You were a good teacher," my son always says. I'll never forget how he remembered you. In a first grade class in DC, I looked over and saw a little girl chewing on what I thought was an uninflated balloon. When I got closer, I could see that it was not a balloon. It was birth control. I sent her to the vice principal. When the vice principal returned with the student, shaking her head, she whispered to me. She said it was her older sister. During morning meeting in my fourth grade class, students used to sit in a circle on the floor. One morning, I asked a discussion question and went around the circle letting everyone answer. There were students in the school who had 30-year-old grandmothers, and that issue was something of great concern in DC. The question was, how old would you like to be when you get married? I got various reasonable answers until I got to one little girl who answered 12. The other students gasped. This started a discussion, and other students told her why she shouldn't get married too young. I felt very sorry for the little girl. I surely could not have anticipated her response to the question. One year, DC teachers went out on strike for the day. Although I was a member of the teachers' union, I chose not to participate in the strike. I looked up to see a TV camera in my classroom. As the only white person in that school of 500, I found being on TV in that situation very distressing. I stuck out like a sore thumb. A year or two later, there was a funeral march to the yearly orientation at the convention center. Teachers protested by driving very slowly on their way to orientation and tying up traffic all over the city. Though I didn't participate in the funeral march, I didn't cross the picket line in front of the convention center. I went to a nearby cafe, told drink or ball tea for a couple of hours. When orientation finally began,